It's Douglas Coleman.
Heidi ho. Hey. Welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show. It's me, Douglas Coleman. How are you? Welcome to the second Douglas Coleman Show on Blog Talk. And for anybody who was unfortunate enough to hear last week's live broadcast, my sincere apologies for all of the technical problems that we experienced. It was certainly a nightmare for us, but with some crafty editing, I did manage to salvage about 40 minutes of the show, and the now heavily edited version is up in the archives, and it actually turned out to be a halfway decent show. I mean, it's very serious in one spot, but then it's damn right silly in another spot, so it's all mixed up, and the quality at this point is now listenable, so if you get a chance, please check it out in the archives. Last week's show was also my former co-host John Morgan's last show with us, and he was kind enough to share his rather serious medical issues, and that's part of the show in the archives. And gave everybody a little bit of insight to what kidney disease is and what kidney dialysis entails. It's no picnic, I can assure you, but John has been my dear friend for a long time. He's rather like a brother that I never had, and I love him very much. And this man has more courage and the strongest will to live of anyone I have ever met in my life. And I admire and respect him very much. What he has to go through just to stay alive would be more than I could handle, and I think I would choose death over life. But he perseveres, and he rarely complains. I rarely hear him complain about it at all. So somebody like that, I just have infinitely more respect for than some of these people who their day and their life is completely ruined because their pool water is green. You know, there's just some people that, the BMW got scratched today. My life is a misery. And I've met people like that. I've worked with people like that. And I'll tell you, after meeting somebody like John, those people are just lowlifes to me because their priorities are so screwed up that they just have no concept of what it really means to be a strong person. So, anyways, good luck, John, and hopefully your long-awaited transplant is just around the corner, because I know that's will be a lifesaver for you. Okay, well, as the circle of life goes, with one ending, there is always a new beginning. And today marks a new beginning on the Douglas Coleman Show, or rather a new person joining the show, and I'd like to introduce her now. She is the founder and president of Lady Lake Entertainment, which promotes indie artists like myself, and she has an amazing roster of extremely talented individuals. Here she is, Miss Light and Fluffy herself, Cindy Diadamo. Hello, Cindy.
Hi, Douglas.
How are you?
I'm doing great today. How about yourself?
Good.
Awesome.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hopefully you'll stick around for a little while. I think this
absolutely.
is a great addition to our show. We've got a couple of things that I'd like to do. First, I want to introduce the idea of Lady Lake Corner to everybody. And basically, this is where you're going to take a few minutes and just update the listeners on what people on your roster are doing, where they're playing, if they've got a new EP or a single out, and just kind of give us an idea of where everyone's at. And we'll try to do that on a weekly basis so we can keep tabs on all the wonderful artists on your roster. So if you wouldn't mind, we could do that now. Can you just give us an update on who's doing what, where, when?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for the opportunity to talk about all the different artists and projects that we have at Lady Lake. We always have something going on, very lively group of individuals, very active on social media. If you are on Twitter and add me at Lady Lake Music, you will see all of our various promotional tweets going down about who's doing what. If you would like to hear our artists, you can go to www.reverbnation.com/label/Lady Lake Music. That's sort of a clearinghouse for everybody in that everyone has a profile. You can check out the samples of music, see the photos, read the upcoming shows, and then look at everyone as a whole housed at our general Lady Lake Music Reverb Nation, but everyone has their own individual site. Also, we had two big happenings for the roster, which were on Twitter, we hit our 40,000 follower mark this week, and we are proud to say, yeah, it's great. It's a big achievement. In that I started like everyone else, building from zero, getting up to the 1,000 mark, figuring out how to add more people. So I started adding on Twitter in about 2011, and we just hit our 40,000th person. And Twitter sends you a little announcement. So I thought that was something to be proud of, in that we don't buy friends, plays, likes, followers. This is all genuine networking, hard work.
That's
we also
fantastic.
were listed in the top 25 indie professionals on LinkedIn, which is a pretty prestigious thing to get put into. If you're not on LinkedIn, it is a group of professional people. My group mostly consists of business in the music industry and the entertainment industry, but I'm also friends with other business people. So this was a pretty big distinction for us as a group. One is our artist Sharon Leah and her band, the Sharon Leah Band. You can find them on Reverb Nation. You can also find them at SharonLeahBand.com. They are number one in pop in Trenton on Reverb Nation. They play in New Jersey, New York City, Philadelphia, that area. They have a new EP, which is called Forevermore. Fantastic EP. You can find out where to buy it. They're on all the normal outlets. SharonLeahBand.com and the Reverb Nation have all the site listings for that. I believe we have a song from Sharon today on the Douglas Coleman Show, which I think is going to be Fairy Tales, which is sort of a nightclub number, a disco dance club beat. They're coming up on August 8th. In a local festival in New Jersey called Hollystock, which is held in Mount Holly, New Jersey. And then it branches off to various different music venues and things of that sort. And they will be at some place called Dempster's Pub in Mount Holly, New Jersey at 10 p.m. as part of Hollystock, which is held on August 8th. So that's the big news for Sharon Leah. We also have our Boston duo, Lori Diamond and Fred Abatelli, who go by LDFA as a sort of short handle. You can find them on Reverb Nation, also at ldfamusic.com. They are folk, adult contemporary, acoustic soul. On August 9th, at the Tower Hill Botanic Garden in Boylston, Mass, they will be celebrating Boylston Day from 11 to 3 p.m. It's held on the lawn garden. They will be playing. They open at 11 a.m. It's a cool outdoor event. Bring your blankets, bring your chairs. There's going to be vendors and refreshments, lots of great music. They will be playing with Cardboard Ox and Honor Finnegan. If you want more information about this in general, go to www.towerhillbg.org.
Cardboard Ox, that's the name of the band.
Yeah, aren't you originally from Boston? Do you know of the Tower Hill Gardens?
No, but I've been to Boylston, Mass plenty of times.
Yeah, so that's the big summer celebration there. And the only other note I would like to mention is our David Martinez, who's the #1 all-around act in Corpus Christi, Texas. You can find him at reverbnation.com/David Martinez. He flew to Los Angeles, California to record his third album with Leroy Miller, who's also on the talented Lady Lake music roster. He had just done some big shows as part of his Texas tour called Come On and Love Me. That was the name of his tour. He played with Ian Moore at the Bay Jammin' Festival in Corpus Christi, which was right held on the water, very beautiful. You can see some pictures on the Reverb Nation. He also played at the Mathis Freedom Fest on the 4th of July holidays with Vallejo and Billy Joe Shaver, and he will be coming up in Corpus Christi with Vallejo. The details are TBA on that. It will be a nice big show at House of Rock, who are our friends. So some shout outs to our friends at Bay Jammin' and at our friends at House of Rock in Corpus Christi. Also, David is one of the board members of the Corpus Christi Songwriters. So also that it will be Jimmy Wilden and Stephen James, who are the other members. So shout out to all of those guys. So that's a pretty tight summation of what we have going on at Lady Lake right now.
Now, you said that Dave went to L.A. to record his third album with Leroy. Is Leroy going to be on the album, or is Leroy just producing the album?
Well, I know he's producing the album. As far as being on it, I don't know if there are going to be any co-writing credits or any playing credits. I do know that on the last record, David did cover one of Leroy's songs, which he actually changed from a heavier, Leroy has like a heavier blues rock beat, and David took it down to more of a, slow the tempo down to more of an acoustic song. So you can hear Blue Sky, David's version, on One More Time, and Leroy, you can hear his version of Blue Sky, which is heavy and hard, and you would hardly recognize the same song. So it may be something like that. I did talk to David last night, and he was on doing a live Periscope. If you guys don't have the Periscope app for your iPhone, please get it. Everyone's moving over to Periscope and doing their own thing, little impromptu broadcasts of rehearsals, chit-chats of bands, live shows. DJs are doing it, so it's fun. Follow us on Periscope. We're at Lady Lake Music, same as Twitter, and we've done a lot of cool things on Periscope. So as far as the record goes, I do know that they are doing some phrasing and lyric changing at this point, tempo changes, but I don't know exactly the songs. They're not to that phase yet.
Well, you mentioned Periscope, and we do have a new feature on the Douglas Coleman Show, is Periscope Girl, who should be calling in at some point, and she's going to give us an update of where she went and what she filmed on her Periscope today. So we have that to look forward to.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you for all of that information. That was great information. And I think with that, why don't we play a song? Let's play Sharon Leah's song, the Fairy Tales one.
Fairy Tales, yes.
Yeah, let's do that one. Okay, here's Sharon Leah and Fairy Tales.
Gonna
And that was Sharon, Leah, and Fairy Tales. What a great vibe that song has, huh? It has a great feel to it. Really terrific.
Yeah, it's like you have to get out your disco ball and
yeah. Yeah, definitely. It actually sounds a little bit like what was that Gloria Gaynor song? Remember from the
I Will Survive?
Yes, yeah. It has that feel about it.
A lot of the girls that are fans of Sharon all use that as kind of a little sisterhood thing,
Oh, yeah, that's a great song. I really like that. And actually, you just did your Lady Lake Corner, and now I've got a couple of announcements. So maybe we should have entitled this show the Announcement Show, because we got so many things coming up and people doing this and that. I've put out the word on Facebook and Twitter that I'm going to be doing 2 showcases, one on the 8th of September and one on the 15th. These are subject to change and subject to be canceled if I don't get enough interest in these things. But the one on the 8th, I want to feature dance. I want to feature choreographers and dancers, which I've always been an admirer of people who could dance because I cannot dance at all. I can do lots of things, but dancing ain't one of them. And I've always enjoyed watching dancers, especially, well, obviously good ones. But even bad ones can be funny if that's the point.
Oh, absolutely.
On SCTV back in the 80s, they always parodied the dance troops with the Jewel Hallmeyer dancers, and they were like perfectly bad. It was just hysterical. But hopefully on the 8th, we will get good dancers and not bad dancers, although on radio, you couldn't tell anyways.
That's right.
So that's going to be on the 8th. And then on the 15th, I'm going to do classical music. And I want to get some classical musicians, and we'll play classical music because I happen to like classical music. The one thing I've found when I have worked with classical musicians way back in the day, and this is not to put them down in any way, but they tend to be shy. And they also tend to be a little bit arrogant. And with the music, I definitely agree with them. Because when they hear what's out there now and some of the crap that's being put out and passed off as music, and what they do is really the real McCoy. It's the genuine article. Everything sort of started with classical music and then evolved into what we have now.
Right.
So they tend to not like any other kind of music except classical music. Now, that's not to say all of them feel that way, but I have talked to a few, and they did tend to run to that kind of attitude. So whether they would want to come on a radio show or not, I don't know. So far, I've had 0.
Well, that must be something in of itself, because I think it's really cool to listen to interviews of, celebrities that are in a genre that that type of music associated with them. And when someone asks them, what do you listen to? It's very funny, because you would think that they would listen to their genre of music, yet sometimes you'll hear an interview with a country singer who listens to old Motown. Or you'll interview somebody who you think, wow, the only thing they're going to listen to is urban music, and they'll cite all of these traditional artists, and you'll be like, really? You listen to, someone very, very, very across the board, like Celine Dion, which is kind of like the, wonder bread of music.
Right.
But, so it's just, to me, it's really interesting who listens to what and why. But I do agree with you about the difference between a classical musician being an actual musician in that they know their craft, they know how to read music, they know how to play an instrument, and then some of the modern quote unquote music that is the manufactured studio stuff. It isn't the same thing.
Right, exactly. Really. Okay, yeah. We've got a call coming in here. Hello, Periscope Girl, are you there?
Hello. Aye, Captain. This is Periscope Girl reporting. This week's...
Go ahead. Yes, go on. I was just playing your sound effect.
She has to have her bubbles and things.
Yeah.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Lady Lake. This week's report on Periscope is as follows. I have been broadcasting from the colleges of Oxford, England. I have had viewers from all around the world. Also, I have been watching many interesting periscopes, even some from places I have never been in my own country, like St. Paul's Cathedral. So sign up free with Twitter, my hearties. And don't forget to update your Periscope app, if you already have it, so as not to miss out, you land lovers, as it's awash with famous people aplenty, including our very own Lady Lake and the fabulous Moss Brothers. It's fast and furious in the Periscope world, so hop aboard, full steam ahead into adventure. Yah! Great music, culture, ask questions live, shiver my timbers, it's fun. Periscope Girl signing out. Roger that, Captain. Over and out.
There she goes. She's going to dive. There, she's diving. Going back to her Periscope. Okay, thank you, Periscope Girl. We will see you next week, or hear you next week with another update.
That kills me. That's great.
Oh, it's all in good fun here on the Douglas Coleman Show. I thought I would play one of my weird old demos that I did a long time ago, and it has an interesting story about it. This was back in the day of mp3.com. I don't know if you do you remember that one, Cindy?
Vaguely I do, yeah.
It was actually the first online music sharing sites, and it was invested in by Alanis Morissette. She was she wasn't like the president of it, but she was like one of the big investors in it. And she was very smart because I think she saw where this thing was going to go. You know, this was before iTunes. This was before CD Baby. This was before TuneCore.
Was there life before iTunes?
What's that?
I said, was there life before iTunes?
Well, I thought there was, but some people would disagree with me. So anyways, this was, I was in there and a bunch of other artists were in there. And like any other online thing, there were some great artists and some not so great artists on there.
Oh, there's always not so great. There's a lot more of not so great, frankly.
Well, yeah, because the playing field's been leveled, and so the not so greats are right next to the greats. Which must be really irritating for the greats.
Right.
Anyways, I met this guy, and he was an amazing guitar player, but he had a lot of trouble with women, and he just couldn't seem to keep them around for very long. And I remember that we used to, this was when he had just, or she had just left him. And I called him and we were having a phone conversation, and he was like practically in tears. And he said, well, what's the problem? And he said, oh, my girlfriend just left me and I'm sitting on the floor and there's no furniture in my apartment. And I said, whoa, why is there no furniture in your apartment? He said, well, she took all of it. It was her furniture anyways. So she moved out, took all her furniture with her.
Wow.
And I said, well, why don't you just buy some furniture? That seems like a logical thing. Why don't you just buy the furniture yourself? And then if the girl leaves, then you end up sitting on the floor. And he said, well, no, I'd rather pay as I go for my furniture. When he said that line, inside my brain went ding. And I said, okay, well, listen, I'll talk to you later. And I hung up. And I went right to the studio, and this song came out in 15 minutes. Wow. And I sent it to him, and I think it made him feel better because he said in his email that he just laughed and laughed and laughed. And he loved the song, and it made him feel better. So I'm going to play this song for you now. It's just a piano song. It's a demo, so it's not the greatest quality, but it's called Sit on the Floor.
pays as he goes for his furniture. My friend, he won't sit on the floor. It seems such a waste, buying in haste those chairs that don't fit through his door. When his flat is all fit, he is happy, although there's no room for himself. It's just that he needs all those wood grains to read. My friend, he won't sit on the floor. Love is a lonely game that I hate to play. But someone just says, sit right down, I know what I'll say. I say, I like the floor in my house. I sit on my own. Don't need your rug or your mat to call it my home. So when it comes time to get moving, the lamps and those tables and chairs, it might be a fact he'll strain his back. My friend, he won't sit on the floor. Now someone invented the beanbag. It's just like a chair, but not quite. You can move them alone, but they don't feel like home. My friend, he won't sit on the floor. Oh, my friend, he won't sit on the floor. My friend, he won't sit on the floor.
And that was Douglas Coleman and Sit on the Floor. What'd you think of that song?
I think it was kind of a mix between, do you know the song Shaving Cream?
No.
Shaving Cream was from the show, well, at least I know it from, have you ever heard the old radio program called Dr. Demento?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Dr. Demento had all these crazy spoofs and parodies and whatever. And if you guys you can look it up. I'm sure it's on YouTube. It's called Shaving Cream. And it's like that, like an old-fashioned vaudeville-y type flavored, formatted song. And it has that kind of bump, 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 bum thing. And it's about, my baby fell out of the window. I thought that something would happen. He fell in a big pile of shaving cream. So every time there's supposed to be a dirty word, they insert shaving cream, and that's kind of the song. But it reminded me a little of that, and also a little bit of the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper era type thing.
Sgt. Pepper.
Yeah, you know, Sgt. Pepper had all those weird vaudeville-y things in it.
I think you're thinking of the White Album.
Well, yeah, but I mean the Sgt. Pepper, I know the White Album, but I mean...
Well, because there was that song on the White Album that was Honey Pie, and it really sounded like a 1920s song.
Yeah.
You know, dun dun dun, honey pie.
I'll get back to you with the song that I mean. Okay. I can't pull it out of my head right now.
Well, it's definitely
that was very funny. And I mean, I'm sure it cracked the guy up, but it was so funny that he won't sit on the floor and he rents his furniture.
Well, he rents his furniture through the girlfriend. In other words,
right.
It got to be kind of silly. We started talking, and I said, well, now, when you go out and look for a new girlfriend, do you specifically ask her if she's got an apartment full of furniture that she comes with?
Right.
Because,
so right now, if you were on Match.com, you would have to put looking for girlfriend with furniture.
With furniture. Must have furniture. You can be 400 pounds and zits, but you must have furniture. Yeah. Oh, poor guy. I don't know whatever happened to him. I don't think I've talked to him in 15 years. So
He became a furniture salesman.
yeah, or a mover. Maybe he's working for Allied Van Lines or something now.
Oh, God.
Oh, well, anyways. But at least I got a song out of the deal, so I feel like... and he got a song out of the deal, because the song is definitely about him. Anyways, on Facebook... Oh, by the way, I'm up to 3,000 people now. Isn't that
and
amazing?
they're all your most intimate friends.
Yeah, I don't know any of them. I think if I took out
That's the deal.
every one of them... Go ahead.
That's the thing about Facebook friends. Some of I have 5,000. I'm always full. Once in a while, I'll delete some people, and then I'll, have a little bit of room to add some new people I'm working with. But generally, 5,000 is not a lot. If you're in some type of industry and you've been on there for a long period of time, it's kind of limiting. And then people, it's such an interesting group. I have people that I've known in my real life, of course. I have my oldest friend that I used to play Barbies with when I was 5.
Wow.
I found her. So she's my oldest friend. To, somebody I just met yesterday who I don't really know, who I do some type of music with. So it's everyone from schoolmates, people I went to high school with, people I went to college with, people I've worked with, people I knew when I was young, people I knew through my husband. It's all kind of crazy, mixed up stuff. And then it's the music industry.
Well, I don't know hardly any of these people. I don't know where they're coming from. They're coming from all over the world. I've got a whole ton of people from the Spanish-speaking countries, South America. I've got a lot of people coming in from India. I mean, like hundreds.
Wow.
And I don't know how they all found me. And I've got like probably 20 to 25 came in from South Korea all at once. Like
maybe you were big in India or secret fan base in South Korea. No idea.
I don't know, but this one guy it gave me an idea. I might actually do an Indian music showcase because
cool.
This guy gave me a link to his YouTube where he's playing it's not the tabla, it's the other one, the one that sits on your lap. It looks like a half a keg of beer. I forget there's a name for it. I can't pronounce it. It's like a bongo on both ends. You play on both ends, and it lays across your lap. Okay, I'll get the name of it. But anyways, and he's got this cool recording studio set up to record it, and he just made a video of him in the studio with his engineer working on this thing. He's an amazing player. And I thought, wow, we could do like an Indian music showcase, and then I could just talk about Ravi Shankar and George Harrison for the whole hour, which would probably
George
work.
Harrison. Love George Harrison. Such a big fan.
Oh, well, he was so into the Indian music, and he infused it into the Beatles music. Basically, from Rubber Soul on, there was always an Indian instrument in one of the songs.
He was my favorite Beatle.
Well, that's good. I think mine was John, probably.
Was anyone's favorite Beatle Ringo?
Oh, yeah. Ringo had lots of fans.
I mean, but like amongst my group, I remember when the Beatles came out, I was like a wee kid. And I loved music from the time I could like snap my finger, dance around, whatever. We were a member of the Beatles fan club. I had the big button that was about big as a saucer for like a cup and saucer that said like I'm a member of the Beatles fan club. And
do you still have that? It would be worth a fortune.
No, I
on
wish
eBay
I
now.
did. I bet that'd be worth a little cheddar right now.
Oh yeah.
But all of my girlfriends were either Paul. Nobody much was a John. I mean, everyone liked John's music later on, but like the looks were Paul or George. It was like, do you like Paul or do you like George? And although I thought Paul was cool as like a singer, I thought George was the cutest Beatle. That's just from a chick perspective. I think George was the hottest Beatle.
Well,
I'll stand on that today.
Yeah, I think John definitely didn't quite match up to George or Paul in terms of the looks. But I think the musicians sort of went with John because he was the weirdest one. And he wrote the weirdest songs like I Am the Walrus and Strawberry Fields. And, Paul wrote beautiful melodies and beautiful ballads. That was really his forte.
Paul was the one who could have made it in different types of music because his music has a big cross marketing appeal.
Yeah, my grandmother liked some of Paul's songs like Yesterday.
And I actually
Eleanor
loved
Rigby.
the old like twisting Beatles, the twisting type things, before they got into the hippie phase and into all the weird freaky stuff. I liked the old stuff. Then I liked the George Harrison. I liked the Bangladesh and all of that, and All Things Must Pass and that sort of thing. Then I liked the John and Yoko, when they went out and they did, Love Is This and Love Is That and the Bed In and everything. Although I'm not a big Yoko fan, I've got to say.
Well, I'm definitely not a Yoko fan, and I definitely could have done without seeing them naked on an album cover too. I mean, that was that was a shock to wake up to in the morning. But I respect why they did it. I'm not a prude, and I'm not offended by nudity, but I didn't really want to see Yoko or John naked. That just wasn't in my on my list of things that I must do before I die.
I can second that emotion.
So, well, listen, we better get to another song here.
Yes.
What do you think? You want to play Dave or you want to play Villa Avenue?
Either one. They're both good.
All right, let's do Villa Avenue.
Okay.
This one is called Running in Circles. Now, was this one produced by Stewart?
I know that they had music produced by Stewart, and I know Running in Circles is a newer one, and I'm not sure which ones he stopped at. This one, to me, they always have a certain flavor to their music, but this one kind of stamps them. And I think as you become more familiar, maybe we'll play a couple more songs as the show progresses, as the weeks progress, but you'll be able to hear, because you've worked with Stewart, whether or not you think he produced this.
Well, that's true.
Let me quiz you on that.
All right, well, let me listen to this one, and I'll let you know what I think.
Okay.
Here we go. Running in Circles by Villa Avenue.
Dude, that part with like the extra guitars in the beginning, like it sounds kind of cool.
Hey, that was great. I like that song.
That is Chris Schindler on lead vocal, who to me sounds a little bit like Van Morrison.
Yes, yeah, and the song has a Van Morrison flavor about it as well.
Now, their song "Tell Me Your Goodbyes," that was produced by Stewart, and that definitely sounds like a Stewart Epps song, as it has a little bit of a Beatles vibe.
Okay, I don't hear Stewart in this one, so
Me neither.
I'm going to say no, he didn't produce this one.
I'm going to say no to this too.
Yeah. I saw something. I started to talk about Facebook, and then I got a little sidetracked. But
Yeah.
there was something. You know how people post on, what do you call that? The news feed, where it's just everybody's post keeps coming up and
Right.
coming up. Okay.
Yeah, newsfeed.
The news feed. Well, I look through that once in a while and see if there's anything interesting that I want to share over onto my timeline.
Right.
And you know how people post those ones where it's like, it's supposed to be some kind of profound statement. And it's usually, the picture is like usually a cat sitting on a toilet or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and so I usually don't bother with those. But there was one today that just kind of banged me right in the head because it was speaking to me. It was exactly what I did or didn't do. And it was just a picture of a car driving across the desert from kind of a faraway shot. So it gave you this feeling of big open space and,
Right.
freedom and all this kind of stuff. The caption read, "The most dangerous risk of all. The risk of spending your life not doing what you want on the bet that you can buy yourself the freedom to do it later."
Interesting.
And I thought, how many musicians and artists have done exactly that? Where
And how?
they
Yeah.
said that, okay, they knew that they wanted to be a musician or an artist when they were 16. And they started out and did it, and then things didn't quite go right, so they got a job, and then they got stuck in the job, and maybe they got married, maybe they had a kid, and then they had to stay at the job because you had to make
Right.
money and so. And
Pay the
then,
bills, right.
yeah, and then you think, well, okay, I'll work at this job for 20 or 30 years, and then I'm going to get back to it. I'm going to get back to my music. Well, I don't know that always works out. I mean, I think that in my particular case, a lot has changed in the last 30 years in terms of the industry. The industry's been turned upside
certainly.
down. And I really had to start over again. Plus, I just don't have the energy that I had when I was 20 years old. Working in a corporate environment for 20 years sort of changes your whole comfortability level, shall we say.
Yeah.
And, going back to the starving artist life, just at this point, I just couldn't do it, I think when you're young, the difference is when you're young, the most important thing is to be entertained, is to be amused. Doesn't matter
Right.
what you do. When you get older, the most important thing is to be comfortable.
Amen.
Doesn't matter, I would rather be comfortable than entertained. I can sit in the chair and stare at the ceiling as long as it's a comfortable chair.
Right.
And I think that's the real difference of what happens. Now, I don't know when that hits you. I think that hit me around the time I was about 40.
Yeah, but then I don't want to get too heavy on you, but then that sort of leads into what is success? Is success financial or is success personal?
Well, that depends who you
Meaning-
ask.
Yeah, I mean, meaning, okay, you need enough money so that you aren't starving to death. You're not living in a box. You can go to the doctors when you're sick. But when does success, in quotes, when does the pressure of what you should do, what you should buy, what path you should be on in order for your family to think you're successful, your peers to think you're successful, but what about what you think? And then Most people will put that in a little box and put that up on a shelf. The ideals that you have when you're maybe 18 about what you would like to do, some people just put that away and never take it back out and dust it off. Sometimes people kind of dabble at something when they're older. But what if you just made it? What if you had a minimum wage job and you just made enough money to like split a place with 3 buddies so that nobody was starving, and then you really went for it? Would you be a different person? That's a good question.
Well, if you did that when you were 18 or 19 years old,
right,
and you kept at it, you probably would have succeeded in some manner in the business.
Right.
You might have ended up being a producer.
Then when is society's or like peers or whatever you want to call it, when is that success really not success? And when is personal success important? And why aren't kids encouraged to, make their means, of course, earn their money that they need for keeping their food on the table or what have you? But why aren't families more supportive of the arts in general or a different path?
Well, I think that if you look at my grandparents who grew up during the Depression, it was hard enough just to find any job.
Right.
Being a musician would have been almost unheard of. And then, you graduate up to my parents who were, a product of the 1950s, where everybody went to college and became an engineer. And that's just what you did.
And musicians had a certain stigma attached to them. Like, oh, if you're a musician, you don't make any money, you don't live a good life, you drink too much, you party too much, you're not an upright citizen, blah, blah, blah.
Right. There was a bad...
That's what I was taught anyway.
Bad reputation. Yeah, bunch of riffraff. Bad reputation. And then you had the one Elvis Presley and maybe a few others. But your chances of becoming the next Elvis Presley was almost impossible. Where if you went to college, your chances of getting a job as an engineer were probably pretty good, as long as you maintain, you know what I mean? It was just an easier road. And I think some parents with the best intentions in mind just thought that they didn't want their kids to really have to struggle so hard. They, especially like middle-class parents who might have given the kids the money to go to college. It said, well, look, why do you want to take this ridiculous road of living out of the back of a van when you can just go to college and get a job? And but they didn't understand that it wasn't the passion. The passion wasn't there. We didn't want to be suit and tie people.
Well, exactly. And so if you take it into a different perspective and you say, let's pretend you knew you had 4 more years left on the face of this earth. At any age, would you choose to spend it in a college classroom with a bunch of books and some crusty professor, or would you just go for it?
Well, if I only had 4 years, I'd go for it. Absolutely. Right.
So, I mean, why then? Who knows how many years anybody has?
True.
So, I mean, I think life is kind of all in your perspective. Not that I want my kids to be starving or living in a box but now a college degree doesn't guarantee you anything anymore.
No, it doesn't. But there's an answer to what you just said. And the kids might say, well, I got to do it because I might die tomorrow. And the answer you give your kids is, okay, but what if you don't?
Right. So, I mean, I think everything has to be a little bit of a happy balance, but I don't think it should be from a finger wagging standpoint where, oh, young man, you're X age, so now we expect you to do whatever the thing is, because everybody kind of has their own timeline and path and groove, and sometimes it takes a while longer for someone to get into their groove or find it, or get
Well,
your groove
what about-
back, like Stella.
What about
whatever.
your kids? How did you
Right.
How did you do? Were you a finger wagging mom, or did you?
My kids?
Yeah.
No, I was extremely. I talked to a child psychologist when my younger son was about 5, and she was a cool lady. She had lots and lots of experience, 25 years of being a child psychologist, and she said to me, the only battles that are worth fighting have to do with safety. You don't want your kid abusing drugs or something crazy like that, and then health. To make sure they're going to a doctor. And she said, as far as any other thing, what music they listen to, what movie they watch, how they wear their hair, what fashions they wear, she said, eventually all that will even out and shake down and, relax, choose your battles, and let your kids develop their own personality.
Wow, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm. And so I did. I mean, I really saw each one was different. My older son is very articulate and very philosophical, and he chose to take political science, and he has been involved in various political campaigns as a younger person is, going out and spreading the word and things of that nature, and some campaigns that he's helped to develop. He's really bright. Both of my kids have gigantic IQs. I don't know where they came from. They fell off the tree or whatever, but they're very much more. I'm smart enough, but I'm not like super intellectual. They're both. My younger one is all into like physics and science, and so they're so different. And he's also into nutrition and health, and that's his current thing. He's developing like his own nutrition plan and eating plan and diet plan and workout plan, and he's just a hawking mass of 20-year-old kid, whereas the other one is living in near Manhattan, working in Manhattan. And so I just think my parents would have dropped dead if I said at 24 years old I was moving to New York City. They would have just died, really.
Well, I know mine weren't real thrilled when I said that at 18.
Right.
And I was on my own. And when I went, that was it.
Did you live in Manhattan?
I had $500 in my pocket, which was a lot of money back then, but you knew it wasn't going to last forever.
Especially in New York.
Yeah, and
So what did you do?
Well, I hooked up with a band, and we started playing around, and
Oh, how cool.
I think I told the story about when we talked to Matt, about going to the first recording studio that I've ever been in, and it was great, but I was very poor. We made shit when we went out and played, but we had a good time.
Right.
And then my father got sick, and I had to go home. And then when I went home, my mother sort of heavily persuaded me to go and finish my degree or go to college and get I was accepted to go, but I turned him down. So I went back and, got my degree, and then just got a real job. And now, what
if though you would have made it in music? You never know.
I don't know, because I wasn't there long enough. I think
right, exactly.
I was just there for 3 years, and that's not long enough. You've some people, it takes them a whole lifetime to get something, Right. But I had my youth, I had my looks, and it was before rap music. So my music was relevant, everything was on my side at that point. Now it's not. But the only thing I do have now that I didn't have then was wisdom.
Amen.
I'm much smarter than I was back then. And you know what, Cindy? We got 30 seconds to go. So this is Douglas Coleman saying, next week, we don't know who we're having as a guest, but we'll let you know. Okay, good night, Cindy.